Big wins for Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire. We go now to Manchester, New Hampshire, where Politico reporter Gabriel Debenedetti is there. Good to see you, Gabriel.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
So you spent the evening at the Bernie Sanders victory party. What was the mood like? There must have been a lot of jubilation.
Oh, that's exactly right. You can imagine it was pretty celebratory. You know, his campaign aides have been pretty open from the start that New Hampshire is the linchpin to their path to the nomination. And even though he remains a long shot, a big win last night really helps.
What do you think it does for the Clinton campaign at this point? How do they regroup after New Hampshire?
Well, they're certainly going to have to rely a lot more on her support among minorities, because the point that they've been making pretty heavily is that New Hampshire and Iowa both are like Bernie Sanders' home state of Vermont. They're heavily white and heavily liberal. But that said, there's going to be a lot of soul searching in Clinton world. They were not expecting a blowout of these proportions, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some course corrections in terms of their message and maybe some new staffers added.
So let's go over to the GOP side. Donald Trump winning there. I guess that's not really the surprise. The surprise, though, is how well John Kasich did in terms of second place.
That's right. John Kasich is using this opportunity to basically say, I am the establishment candidate here. You know, after everyone had crowned Marco Rubio after Iowa, Kasich is saying, look at me, guys. You know, he came in a strong second ahead of Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Chris Christie. So this was a real opportunity for the Ohio governor to step up and say, you guys got to take me seriously. Now, he doesn't have much of an operation in South Carolina, which is the next voting state for Republicans. So we'll see how this translates. But it was clearly a big moment for him.
It's interesting, though, because we're still not really clear on who is in the best position to really tackle Donald Trump if indeed he stumbles at all. So what do we have to see from kind of the remaining candidates on the GOP side to get some inroads to try to erode Trump's lead? And who is in the best position to do that?
Well, it's a great question. I think Ted Cruz is still the #2 candidate right now. He came in, I don't know what the final results said, either third or fourth last night, which is way stronger than most people expected, considering that he didn't really have much of an operation in New Hampshire for a long time. But if you look at the rest of the field, the winnowing that everyone was expecting after Iowa and after New Hampshire happened to a certain degree. There are still a number of so-called establishment candidates in the race. Now, Chris Christie said he was going to go to New Jersey today instead of South Carolina to sort of regroup and figure out whether he wants to stay in this race. But he, Kasich, Bush, and Rubio all remain in. And until there's only one or two of them, you're not going to have the entire so-called GOP establishment behind one candidate ready to attack Trump.
Is Trump attackable? Is he beatable? Is it going to really come down to the fact that Donald Trump is beating expectations, he's doing well in the polls, and he's winning?
That's all very true. I don't know if he's beatable. You know, Ted Cruz showed that you can beat him in Iowa. But his performance last night was really quite impressive. He won by a very large margin. And these are not voters that tend to vote for someone like Donald Trump. If you look at recent winners of the New Hampshire primary on the Republican side, John McCain, Mitt Romney. So it remains to be seen. I think it's clear that Republicans have not found the silver bullet. I think that it also is quite clear that they're trying very hard. They're digging up everything they can, and they're throwing everything at him. But Donald Trump is someone who relies on sentiment, and right now the sentiment of the Republican primary electorate is with him.
If there's one message that voters should take from New Hampshire about two outside candidates doing so well, what is that message?
Well, I think for one thing, it tells us about the mood of the country right now, that the country wants some sort of change. And the other thing is that this thing ain't over yet. This is going to be a long process on both sides. Hillary Clinton is still the front runner on the Democratic side, but she's not going to win this thing anytime soon. And on the Republican side, I think most people would say Trump is the front runner, but it's going to be a long time before he gets that nomination.
Gabriel Debenedetti of Politico, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for TheSttreet.